And someone asked, how do you ask God and hear his answer? I thought that was a great question.
Okay, so I'm going to run down the steps real quick. This is what I always advise as far as hearing God more clearly. So
Everybody take notes. Yeah. Go.
so, so number one, you got to pray in a quiet place. All right.
Okay.
A lot of times we're trying to pray when there's too much going on. TV's on, kids in the background. Shut all the noise off. Shut off the distractions. Okay. Number two, you need to be calm before you pray. Many times what triggers us to go into prayer is fear, anxiousness, hurt. So we're in an emotional place while we're praying. And so the way that the analogy I give is, imagine you have a child and your child comes to you crying hysterical, trying to talk. And you're like, calm down, speak slowly, calm down first. And so that's what we do to God. We come to him all hysterical crying, and you're expecting him to not just hear you, but for you to understand him when you're in an emotional state. It's not going to happen like that. You got to
never thought of that. Wow. Yeah.
Calm down. Get to a place where, okay, you centered yourself, and now you can receive what he has to say and listen. Number three is ask specific. Well, before I say number three would actually be fully surrender to what God has to say. A lot of times we go into prayer with what we want to hear. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when we don't hear what we want to hear, we're like, nah, I heard wrong. Something's going on here. This isn't right.
It's true. Yeah.
You got to go in fully surrendered to whatever God has to say. And it might be something that you never imagined he would say, but you just got to say, you know what, whatever it is, I'm going to receive it. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to go with it. All right. Then number 4 is ask specific questions. So again, it's hard to get answers when we're not even asking questions. A lot of people go into prayer making a petition, praising, venting. All right. But there's no actual question being asked that could be answered. All you're saying is, God, just show me randomly. God, just knock me over the head one day and give me a sign. You're not just asking, what does this mean? Who is this? Should I do that? Specific. Should I move? Should I leave this job? Specific questions that can get you a yes or a no. All right. Wow. And you may hear more than yes or no, but you still have to ask in order to receive an answer. And then number 5.
I think you're.
I lost my train of thought. But those are some of the main steps right there.
Okay.
I think that's the thing. You just got to really go in, open, quiet place, be calm, ask specific questions, and understand that, yes, you may, let's say, for example, someone prays and says, Lord, should I leave this job? And you might hear yes and no in your head. All right. If you sit still long enough, you're going to get one answer that rings out louder than the other. Something's going to stand out. Whichever one stands out is my belief, you go with that. Because if you're going in with the genuine desire to hear God, his voice can overpower anything else in your head. So as long as you sit still, something's going to stick. And it's just about faith at that point. Again, the problem is when we hear it, we think this is crazy. How could this be the answer? How can he tell me to do this? But if you read any kind of spiritual text, most of the time, God tells people to do things that doesn't make sense to the other people around them or even to yourself. So don't expect it to be some logical answer all the time. That's just the way it works.
Yes. So my question is, how do you know that the answer you're receiving, how do you know if it's God, your intuition, or your ego?
Okay, so let's start with ego and intuition. All right. Intuition needs no logic.
Intuition needs no logic. Okay.
No logic, no facts. It needs nothing. Intuition simply feels. It simply is aware. It's like when you walk into a room, you can literally see nothing wrong in the room, but your spirit is telling you something's not right here.
It's a knowing.
Exactly.
Yes.
It does not need logic.
Yep.
Your ego needs logic. Your ego needs to logically deduct, well, this is happening here, and that's this. And so your ego will analyze. Your intuition will simply feel. And so those are how you separate those two. Now,
Okay.
when we go with God versus those things, I believe that intuition is God. Intuition is our spirit, the spirit that God has put within us, which is why, if you notice, intuition, third eye, whatever you want to call it, gut instinct, it's always right. Why is it always right? When people go with it, it is extremely rare for someone to say their intuition or their gut instinct was wrong. So my belief is, again, using biblical context, God says he gave us a spirit of truth. The spirit within us knows. And if you look at it from a spirituality standpoint, the belief is that the spirit realm, whatever happens in the physical has happened in the spiritual realm first. All right? So the spiritual realm already knows what's going on. The spiritual realm does not need facts and logic. All right? Because it operates in the unseen. It can see way beyond what our eyes and our minds can process. So when you start to remove your mind and remove your eyes and simply tap into listening to your spirit, that's how you know, okay, I'm either dealing with ego or I'm dealing with God/intuition.
So to recap, intuition is a knowing, a feeling, and ego is logic, and God is connected to the intuition.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, we got that. Someone asked a good question. They said, what if you're spiritual and you believe in God and a lot of the decisions that you're making are stem from that belief system, but what if your partner isn't? How do you get your partner to become more spiritual, to believe in the path of God, to live in faith more?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't advise getting with someone who doesn't already have the proper foundation.
Yep.
We don't have to be perfect with our faith at that time. We will have differences.
All right, there's like a bee following me right now.
I
Go
see
ahead.
it. We don't have to. I lost my train of thought.
You were saying you shouldn't make that person. You shouldn't be with someone who is not spiritual, who is not like you in that regard.
Yes. So you don't have to. We may not pray the same. We may not praise the same. But there has to be a foundation of spirituality and God already there. Trying to get someone there after getting with them is a very difficult thing. I'm not going to sit here and say it's impossible, but it's highly unlikely. Because now there can be resentment created because they feel like you're trying to pressure them into something that they're not really ready for. They may not be there at that time of their life right now. And if you are passionate about your faith, you're going to have conflict. Like, I know for a fact, I could not be in a relationship with someone who does not have a foundation of God in their life. It's just not going to work. Because what's going to happen if I say, well, hey, babe, let's pray about it? And she's going to be looking at me like, pray? What do you mean pray about it? Like, that's going to be a problem right there. So I think that, unfortunately, that's something that has to be addressed beforehand. And you want to make sure that we have a good foundation before we now commit to each other and have a relationship.
As a general question, why do humans desire a soulmate? And why do we feel so alone when we don't have somebody?
Well, so I believe it. If we look at it from, and we're going to use biblical context real quick. If you believe in the biblical story of Adam and Eve being taken from Adam's rib, then to me that speaks to the fact that we are meant to be unified. We've been separated to create two, but we are supposed to come together to make one. All right. And so there's a natural longing for our partner, our match, so to speak. All right. Some people will have a peace about being single. But notice I said they will have a peace. There are people who are trying to convince themselves they should be single because they're not having success. So they're trying to knock down the hope of it because it hurts too much to wait around for it. But that's different than having a peace about it. All right. It is very few. It's a minority of people who will have a genuine peace and can walk this life alone. The vast majority of us desire fellowship, desire partnership. We want that other half of us. And so I think that's the reason why we're like that. And we're born to have family, to have procreation, to create this full unit. And there's a very powerful thing when a man and woman who are right for each other come together in full union with each other. You know, we're seeing so many bad examples because so many people are getting with the wrong person for the wrong reasons. But when you can find two people who have a genuine connection, who have embraced each other, it's an amazing relationship, and it has an amazing, powerful impact on society. And that's why I think we need more of it. But I believe we had that natural desire for it.
Yes, I totally agree. It took me personally a long time to meet my husband, and we've been together for 13 years. And I have to say, it still takes communication and comprehension is the two things. You have to comprehend what the other person is communicating. It's not just about communication, but evolving and growing together. And it is work to a certain extent.
Absolutely.
But when you have somebody that you feel like understands your soul and who you are, it is such a blessing, and it creates such beautiful things. And so I absolutely agree with what you're saying. How do we know if, because I get this question a lot, how do we know if somebody is the one? That there's so much pressure on that. Like, what does that mean?
Well, so okay, hold on. I gotta change positions because my phone's
go for it. You do you, like whatever you need to do.
So, all right. So, one, I have to say this: when it comes to women, I genuinely believe that women innately know. The problem that women are facing is that women have become detached from their intuition. All right. So here's what I call the unhealthy cycle of women. I've done a podcast on it before, but I haven't released it. But essentially, for a lot of women, outside of trauma as a child, all right, their first love is usually, let's say, in high school, okay, maybe early college. And when I say first love, the first man that they're trying to really give their heart to, because it's not always actual love, all right? But she attaches herself to this man. Men at that age typically are not able and not mature enough to handle her love, handle her vulnerability, handle what she's bringing to the table. So in most situations, that man will do something to now hurt that woman. She becomes devastated, and now she says, I will not let this happen to me again. This is now the beginning of the detachment from her emotions and from her intuition. And so now what happens is, rather than looking at life through your gift, because a woman's gift is her intuition, she now tries to look at life through her mind, her logic, all right? Which is now why women end up overanalyzing everything, because their mind is racing and deducting, because y'all see everything, all right? Y'all pick up on every little thing. So when you're trying to use that to analyze, you will drive yourself insane. Plain and simple, all right? But the key is, I tell women, like I have a group, a membership program, and I tell them in the membership program, stop analyzing and start feeling. If you just for 1 second take a step back, close your eyes, visualize and feel. Do not analyze. I'm extremely confident that you will know quickly either he is not the guy or he is. You don't need all this logical deduction to try to figure it out. And in most cases, again, you know, but you convince yourself, nah, I could be wrong. Or you know he's not it, and you convince yourself all the reasons why you should hold on to him. And I always say, a woman who has been hurt will find all the reasons to run from the right guy and all the reasons to run to the wrong guy, all right? Because the wrong guy, it feels safer emotionally. So a lot of women know, but they're fooling themselves. They're shooting themselves in the foot and not allowing their true gift of intuition to guide them, or the spirit. Because that's the other thing. I've counseled so many women who have been divorced. And when I ask them, did you ask God if you should marry this person? 90% say no. The other 10% say, I asked God, God told me no, and I married him anyway.
Wow.
So there's this huge misstep that so many are taking that's leading to these dysfunctional relationships. And then when you sit down with these women who are divorced and you ask them, did you not see that he wasn't the one from early on? They will admit to you they did. But they had all kinds of reasons to ignore it. I had one woman tell me she was in the back room at her wedding, all right, contemplating if she should end the wedding and not go through with it. Her family all said, we're behind you. If you want to do this, you can call it off. She said she walked out that room, walked up the aisle, and got married.
I was going to say, she still got married.
Yes, and because
Wow.
she said, her reason was, not that I love this man, not that I think that I was wrong, that he wasn't the one. No, because I feel like I deserved it. I deserved to be married. I was at the age that I said I should be married, so I'm going to take this opportunity. So again, this happens to so many women in various ways, but the problem is that when you go through that, it's hard to admit to random people that this is what happened. See, I'm going to hear it because I'm the coach, and I'm able to make people feel comfortable enough to open up and tell me the truth. But the average individuals, they're not going to tell that to. The average woman is telling everyone else, I loved him. I thought it was real. I don't know what happened. No, you didn't. You knew. You
knew. You really did.
Exactly.
And I always say there's always flags. Like in the first few dates, there's always flags. Like it could be yellow flags, but we don't listen to them. We ignore them. It's like we just put our blinders on. You're so right. So many people say you can manifest, this is someone's question, manifest your ideal partner or your dream man, woman. It sounds great in theory, but how can you actually put this into practice? Great question.
So again, I think it's about first identifying and understanding what would your dream partner want in a partner. So if I know, let's say as a man, I want an extremely beautiful woman who's very feminine, who's going to be able to hold down the household, be domesticated and all these things. Okay, that means I'm going to have to be successful enough to take care of the household. I'm going to have to be a man walking in my masculine. I'm going to also have to make sure I'm taking care of my physical appearance so I can appeal to her as well. I tell you right now, if a man embraced those things and got himself together, he would have many options of beautiful women with those qualities to choose from. Not that he needs to be with all of them, but I'm just saying he would see the manifestation of those potential partners come into his life. So as a woman, if you now recognize, okay, I want this kind of man, all right, well, what does that kind of man need in his partner? And now let's cultivate those qualities. Let's also believe that man even exists. Because here's the other problem for a lot of women. They don't even believe he exists. So when he comes along, they think, nah, you're too good to be true. Something's got to be wrong here. I got to find something wrong if I don't see it flat out. And now I will look so hard that I will self-sabotage the situation because I can't even accept that this man actually exists. So you cannot manifest what you don't believe in. Plain and simple. So you got to start with believing the guy even exists, recognizing what kind of woman that man would even want. All right. And again, don't become who you are not, but enhance who you are and become your true self. I believe that a woman tapping into her femininity is tapping into her true self, not becoming something she's not. But so many women have become conditioned to their masculine energy and not being in their feminine that now making the switch feels like they're losing themselves. Making the switch feels like, what am I trying to become here? But no, you're actually getting back to who you really are. Like there's so many women, if you talk to them, and let's say they're in their 30s right now, and you ask them, when you were younger, were you happier, more smiley, more fun? And a lot of women would say, yeah, they were more vibrant when they were younger. So that was the real you. What happened over the years? What happened over the years was all the bad experiences, trauma. You're basically exhausted, and you've built up walls, and those walls now are blocking you from who you really are. And I saw somebody say she's been a tomboy all her life.
Yeah, I want to address that. Yeah.
Again, a lot of that is due to environmental conditioning. Basically, a lot of women who are tomboys may have been exposed to a lot of things, whether it be hanging out with boys, their father doing a lot of boyish things with them. And yes, they may have enjoyed some tomboyish things, but that doesn't mean femininity is not still within you. That doesn't, you just haven't gotten comfortable with it. And so I would challenge any woman who has not walked in her feminine to test it out. Like to make an effort for a week, 30 days, where you're really conscious about being in your feminine. The colors you wear bright colors. That will help you. All right. Smile, being mindful of smiling more often, like really tapping into that softer, that, look at it like this. A lot of women will say, I'm not feminine, right? But then you put them around children and they become loving, sweet, charming. All the feminine energy is oozing out of their body. Put them around a man and they shut the whole damn thing down. It's over. No more feminine energy.
Yeah.
So it's not that you're not feminine. You're just not comfortable around men because you view men as danger, as potential hurt to your heart, to your emotions, in abuse in other possible ways, depending on what you've been exposed to. But you see children as harmless. And because you see them as harmless, you're fully vulnerable. So your true self has come out when the kids are around. Get that woman to always be present and see what happens. And I guarantee you will be happier. You will be more at peace. You will be less sick, because a lot of women's sicknesses stem from all the masculine energy that they're holding on to.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I was thinking as you're speaking, and I was thinking about, like this was when my daughter, well, she's 2.5, but when I used to see my daughter, I realized I was like acting differently with my daughter, so loving and so nurturing as compared to my husband. And because we were in this like rut of like taking care of the kid and all this stuff and not necessarily connecting with each other as much. And I was so conscious of it that I decided, you know what? I need to nurture him too. I need to speak lovingly to him too. Like, it's not just the child. And so what you're saying is absolutely correct. And our relationship, like, we're able to, like, be more unified in a loving way. And it's hard when you have kids. And so what you're saying is so true. I love that you said, like, test it out. And it's not about femininity. It has nothing to do with makeup. It has nothing to do with, I think, like putting on a dress. It could be just your spirit coming out, this softness, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and to be loving and nurturing and compassionate to the men in your life. And hopefully we're not talking about abusive men or anything like that, but we're talking about someone who treats you kindly. Just try and be that woman. I love that you said that. There are so many people, friends that I have or whomever that I know that go after people that are just unattainable. It's like a thing. And so what do you tell people when they're constantly, and we got a lot of questions on this too, like people that are constantly saying, what's wrong with me? Every time I'm, dating someone, I get rejected or it doesn't work out. What advice can you give those people who are constantly chasing after people that are unattainable?
So one, I think that for some people, the issue is it's subconsciously a buffer. So what I say is a lot, and everything I say can go for men and women, but I tend to speak it in the sense of women because we have a lot more women on the live. A lot of women will date with buffers because they don't want to be fully vulnerable. So it becomes easier to chase the unattainable because you can live in the fantasy of if I had them, but you never have to face that reality. It's almost like the woman who goes crazy over the celebrity when they see him on the internet, TV. But if you put the celebrity in front of them, they wouldn't know what the hell to do with themselves. They would clam up, they would run from the situation because they don't want the reality of it. They only want to live in the fantasy of it. Because in the fantasy, it's safe. I don't have to face the realities of rejection. I don't have to face the realities of being vulnerable. So some people chase unattainable, or some women will date long distance on purpose because there's a buffer. Some women will date married men on purpose because there's a buffer. They will find something that allows them to not have to fully give themselves, but still have the fantasy of I have this person in my life. All right. And so I think that's a huge part of it for a lot of people. And then there are some individuals where, I do think some people have to be mindful of, if you're not getting the individuals that are quote unquote unattainable, is it because you have not built yourself up to be the person that they would even want? Yeah. Like a lot of people want a type of person, but they don't want to accept being the type of person that individual needs. And so you're going to always find yourself in this never ending cycle of not getting what you want. Perfect example. And I say this with love. A lot of successful professional women are struggling with dating and relationships. Right? And what they desire is a masculine man who has his stuff together, who they don't have to carry on their back. Nothing wrong with that. The problem is that kind of man desires a very feminine woman. And now a lot of professional women, rather than embracing the fact that femininity will be the greatest power at their disposal, they keep trying to defend the fact that, well, you know, it's my job, or this is the way I am. They keep rejecting the need to embrace the feminine, and they keep walking in their masculine. So now you keep seeing a cycle of not getting the exact type of man you want, and then you'll start to believe that these men just are ridiculous. Nobody wants a real relationship. No, you're not walking in your true power. And so we have to understand, and again, that goes for men and women. Understand the type of person you want to be with, and then understand what they need in a partner. That doesn't mean be someone you're not. And I believe that femininity is not about being something that you're not. Every woman at her core is feminine, but so many have become detached from their femininity for various reasons. All right. But at the core of who you are a woman. You want to be feminine. You feel happier in your feminine. You just don't feel safe because you feel like femininity has gotten you played, has gotten you hurt. People have taken advantage of it, so on and so forth. But I always say femininity was never your problem. Your selection process was. Who you entertained. Who you allowed yourself to give yourself to. And then, of course, there are some situations out of your control that may have given you trauma. But ultimately, you've got to get back to that feminine energy.
And also, don't let someone who didn't know how to love you change how you feel and how you act and how you appreciate love, right? It's just not the right person, like you said, the selection process. And I think a lot of times as a female, we tend to like the idea of someone, but not the actual person. And we can't distinguish between the two and the difference between the two. So I love everything you're saying. And I truly hope everyone is taking all this information in. It's amazing. So what are... because you cover such a broad spectrum in terms of relationships and healing. Are there like three pieces of advice you can give people in terms of healing, either if it's, you know, getting over an ex or, you know, healing from some heartbreak? Because there's a lot of people out there who are suffering right now from that.
Well, number one thing that comes to mind is do not try to get under someone to get over someone.
Ooh.
That's one of
that's a good one. Yeah.
That's a toxic piece of advice that gets passed around all the time. And it's like, it's not healthy. All you're doing is masking your pain. You're more than likely going to get with the wrong person. You're going to now drag them through the mud of your brokenness, which then can either create more brokenness in them, or you're probably going to even attach yourself to an already broken person, because it's not going to feel comfortable dealing with a healed, healthy person when you know deep inside you're a mess. All right. Most people are going to run from the healthy person and run to that dysfunction and brokenness. So it only shows even more you are not ready to entertain a relationship at that time. The second thing I would say that's coming to mind is it's all about, you got to let things get out. You got to get things off your chest. So part of the healing process is where you've got to write a letter. And I won't get into all the details, but in the letter writing process, there's a very specific way to go about it, but it's all about an emotional detox. The problem with so many people is they're suppressing so much negative energy, so much trauma, and people, because they're functioning in life, think they're okay. And it's like, no, you're functioning, but you are destroying yourself from the inside out. You are going to manifest disease. You're going to manifest more negative situations. You're going to create unhealthy relationships because you suppressed the negative rather than acknowledge it, face it, and then release it. So you've got to go through a process of release and getting things off your chest. The other thing, and again, I'm just saying what comes to mind because there's so much we can talk about. It's important to understand you are not alone, because I think that a lot of people internalize what they've gone through, and they start to view it as, what's wrong with me? Why does this always happen to me? And that only now creates more problems. But when you realize you are not alone, all of our hurts are more common than we think. There are tons of other people, millions of other people in this world who have gone through our pain. Yes, some of the details of our situation may be different, but the core principle of our pain is the same. And so when we understand we are not alone, and that we are in a community of people who have gone through these struggles, and not only have we gone through them, but there are people who have conquered them and rose above this. I believe it will give us strength not to fall too deep into the negative and dwell in it, so that we can finally rise above this and heal and get to a better place.
I love everything you just said. I really hope people are taking this in, because all 3 points are so powerful and have such positive long-term effects. I love the letter writing idea. It is not something I ever thought of. And I'm sure it is so helpful just to release all of that emotional trauma. You're not actually sending the letter, right? You're just like releasing and detoxing. Oh, you are. Oh. All right.
It depends on the situation, but I'm not gonna lie.
All right.
In most situations, you will be sending the letter, but that's where people get they start to stumble when they start to worry and concern themselves about, like, let's not even worry about that part. Let's just focus on, you need to write it. You need to get things off your chest. And for those who are thinking, well, I can go talk to the person. No, talking doesn't have the same effect, because in most conversations, you don't get everything out. It's easy to get sidetracked. If you're talking to the person, they may get defensive, they may deflect. So for so many reasons, verbal communication of issues and feelings don't go well. A letter allows you to get everything out and leave no stone unturned.
Yeah, because people were asking, do I just like express everything, or do I hold back because it's being sent? So you're saying just like go for it, just release.
And there's 2 drafts of the letter, and so I lay the whole process out in my book, Love After Heartbreak. But
everyone pick up Love After Heartbreak. It's so good. Yeah, go ahead.
So there's going to be a first draft where you let everything out, no holds barred. This is a complete dumping of the negative energy. So I don't care if you're cursing them out. I don't care if you're wishing death. I don't care what nasty, evil thing you say. You don't look for the right words. You release all your raw emotion. But for a lot of people, that might bring you to tears. That might bring you to a level of anger you didn't even realize you were holding on to. But that's good. We've got to get it all out of your system. And then the second draft will show you how to fix it and how to make it better to where you can now send it, if that's going to be appropriate in your situation. But you definitely have to do the first draft. Is so important, because you got to dump all that negative energy out.
Yeah, it's so important to, like you said, release, because if we're holding everything inside of us, it's just going to manifest and snowball into something negative, versus this beautiful life that we can live of like true inner happiness. So as people ask, are there any book recommendations on breakups and relationships? And I definitely think you should be promoting your own. So why don't you tell people about your books?
So definitely Love After Heartbreak. When it comes to not just breakups, but any kind of trauma in your life, any kind of hurt, parents, family, relationships, all of it. Love After Heartbreak is going to give you the exact steps to healing that I give my clients one-on-one. People who do the steps, all of them, they see results, plain and simple. A lot of people, they don't see results because they skip steps. But if you do everything that's in the book, you will see a difference. So you can go to loveafterheartbreak.com and get the book, or click the link in my bio when we're done with the live. That's the main one, because unfortunately, a lot of breakup books are telling you how to cope and manage. They're not showing you how to heal. That's what we've been lacking in society for so long. We're not healing. I don't want to just get you to move past it. I don't want you to just cope and manage. I want you to be cured from this. It's like, I hate to say it, but it's like big medicine. Big medicine doesn't want to cure us. They want to keep us coming back for medication. They want to keep us coming back to be treated. I don't want you to keep coming back. But I want you to get the cure, be good, be on your way. And if I can cure you, then you're able to now cure somebody else, and they can cure someone else. And now we have a whole healed community of people. That's what we need.
So the last question I'll ask from this list is, how do I open my heart and start dating after an emotionally abusive relationship? I've done the healing work, but I'm scared to love again.
So with all love and respect, if you're scared to love again, you have not fully healed.
Done all the healing work. Yep.
All right. So a lot of people have tried different healing methods. And so, yes, I don't want to dismiss the work that you have put in, but sometimes it did not do what it's supposed to do. And so there's more that needs to be resolved and addressed, because you are healed when you can be vulnerable again. You are healed when you can fully love again. You are healed when you can be your true self again. If you're struggling with those things, you have not fully healed. And so, I would encourage that person, get the book, dive into that, do the steps, because again, I really feel like that's where you're going to unlock a lot of this stuff, because you've got to get to a place where you're not scared of love.
Yep, that's what it is. And someone said, "Why are marriages so hard to maintain?" I thought that was an interesting question.
Two things. Two things. One, because most people are married to the wrong person. All right. Number two, because we don't maintain the person they fell in love with. All right. So I'm of the belief that, there are some people out there who don't believe monogamy is natural. And I believe monogamy is natural. I think the problem is we struggle with maintaining monogamy. And the reason why we struggle with maintaining is because, again, we don't maintain who they fell in love with. So if monogamy wasn't natural, we wouldn't make it 2, 3, 4, 5 years monogamous. We would have had a problem from the jump. Yep. Most relationships that, they can do it for a while, but it reaches a point where now I can't maintain. So now when you start to look deeper, what's really changed? What's changed is we don't talk to each other the same way. I don't show you the same attention I used to show you when you fell in love with me. I don't maintain how I look, or at least, and again, we're going to have some deviation, but let's be real. Some people are going way far off as far as what they looked at in the beginning, how they looked in the beginning to how they look now. And yet we're expecting people to still, quote unquote, love us despite not maintaining what we poured into them to even have them fall in love with us. And that is unreasonable, in my opinion. We've got to make a greater effort to maintain the things that got us to this point. It's like the same thing you did to get them is what you got to do to keep them. And that's really all it boils down to. And I genuinely believe if we apply that in every aspect, including, and I have to stress, including physical appearance, then you would see marriages last longer and do way better.
Yeah. And I think too, like we get past like the lust and all of the fun. You feel like a kid when you're first meeting someone and getting to know them. And once you get past that, I think a lot of people feel like, well, now this is boring. And so, you know what I mean? And so you have to, like you said, you have to go back. And my husband and I do this even now, 13 years later. Like we'll have date nights and we go back to like, oh, do you remember on our first date? Do you remember, we like try to reenact or, think about those times where we were like in the honeymoon phase and falling in love and all of that. And so everything you're saying is just amazing. And everyone's like literally like praising you right now. So
Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. I pray you receive the person who is truly best for you. I want you to get all the blessings God has waiting for you. And so my hope when I do these videos is to make sure that you are not just prepared